All rise. He's Mark Skol Jr.
And he's Jamal Spencer. Sports Court is in session.
Welcome back to another edition of Sports Court. The University of Michigan football program is once again 7-0, and they've got a dominant running back in Blake Corum. And people are already talking Heisman buzz. That leads us to wonder, through 7 games, who's having a better season? Michigan running back Blake Corum or last year's Heisman snub Spartan running back Kenneth Walker III? You can take your pick. If you're a fan of either school, you pretty much know how you're going to go. But if you look at it objectively, what Kenneth Walker III did for Michigan State last year had never been seen before. And if you look at it statistically, the very first time he touched the ball, 75-yard touchdown on the road in a conference game to set the tone for his season. He had more yards through 7 games than Blake Corum did. He made more of an impact for that offense than Blake Corum has for his because he's got J.J. McCarthy. He's got more weapons. I think you got to go with Kenneth Walker III if you're being honest about it.
If I'm being honest, it's got to be Blake Corum. He scored a touchdown in every single game this season. Kenneth Walker didn't do that through the first 7 games of last year. Blake Corum, there's just something about him. It's weird that he's doing so well because he's such a small guy, but he's able to bounce off of defenders. That run he had against Iowa, against the All-American linebacker where he faked him out of his shorts was unbelievable. I think Blake Corum has just been more dominant, more of a surprise, which is saying a lot.
Blake Corum's a great back. He's got great vision. He's got great speed. He had a 50-yard run against Indiana in the first quarter. He lit up Penn State and their illustrious rushing defense. He is legit. However, he's got a much, much better supporting cast through 7 games than Kenneth Walker had. Michigan State didn't have another running back on the roster to give Kenneth Walker a breather that could do any damage. Michigan has a couple. Michigan has a better quarterback than Michigan State had. They got a much better offensive line, and oh yeah, they got a better defense too. The Wolverines are a better team around Blake Corum, so they don't need him to go out and get 200 yards and 3 touchdowns just to survive. The Spartans were relying on every single thing that Kenneth Walker gave them just to be undefeated through 7 weeks.
Don't you like points? You like touchdowns? He's got one in every single game. Kenneth Walker obviously had an outstanding year. He was the reason why Michigan State was undefeated through the first 7 games of last year. But I just think what Blake Corum has done, what he's going to do, we've said the H word earlier, Heisman, he's probably going to be in New York. Kenneth Walker III wasn't, and then there's a reason why.
If Blake Corum gets an invitation to the Heisman ceremony in New York and Kenneth Walker III didn't, Spartan fans are never going to let people hear the end of that one. I will say this, though. If Michigan beats Ohio State, I think you're right, Mark. I think you will see Blake Corum in New York at the Heisman ceremony. What's your verdict? Go to the Sports Court post on Facebook and comment.
Next week, we'll highlight our favorites.
Last week, we talked GVSU and Ferris. We asked who had the better team. While the game answered that question, it differed from our commenters. Y'all are a bunch of Bulldog fans out there.
And it makes our producer sad. He's a Laker for life.
Well, if it'll cheer him up, you can join us again next week. Until then, Sports Court is adjourned.